Hi, if you're new around here, I'm Max and this is Rose. She's a Mercedes-Benz 310D Luton van. She's also very rusty and needs a lot of work. I plan to do most of the welding and repairs myself to get her through the first MOT in 5 years. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button to come along for the ride.
So, good morning everyone. Excuse the camera if it's a bit wobbly, it's balanced on a toolbox. So, just there's bits of film in for you. Got my burner on obviously. It's -4 out there according to the weather, although usually it's a couple of degrees colder here because we're down by the canal and in the middle of nowhere really. There's no, built up areas. So it's probably about -5, -6. Yesterday morning it was, again the weather app said it was -7, but I think it was actually like -9. So yeah, I did a couple of shots of the snow and it's just like the dust, like how I've seen it is when Ash is in Sweden and stuff from watching his videos. I've never experienced it before and nor did I expect to experience it in our garden, but yeah, that was really nice actually. The snow's just so dusty and it doesn't stick to your shoes, it's not a mess, it's not slushy, it's absolutely lovely. I've been loving the cold weather, but as you can see from that wall there, I have insulated the walls of the box, and then also here is all insulated and the ply's been replaced. I did not film a thing, not even for Patreon. It's just, oh man. So what, the MOT happened, but just before that I booked it in, and then the cold weather came and I was done with the majority of the work on the van, but the cold weather was here and I'd ordered the insulation, so I stuck it in with my mum, with the help of my mum. The way it is stuck in is I used my nail gun with the setting like near the minimum or more like in the middle, so that the nail was left stuck out of the battens, and then we sprayed glued just a 30cm strip at the top of the insulation and stuck it in so it was dangling, and then stringed it in place. So this insulation is 50mm sheep's wool insulation. I will show you how I'm going to do it because I've still got 2 strips left, and I've also got to do this here and also the ceiling. I've done that bit of the ceiling above the bed and also the front wall, because the front wall I could just feel the cold coming in as I was sleeping. The burner, although it goes all night, I've mastered it. Every single night I wake up and it's on. It's not even about to go out a lot of the time, it's still just solidly on. So the burner is absolutely amazing, but I still wake up and it's like 5 degrees. Although, considering, like, it's -5, yesterday -9, and it's 5 degrees in here, to be fair, considering there's no insulation in the majority of the ceiling, it's actually doing alright. So by the time this whole thing's insulated and we got subfloor and cabinets and the space is smaller, oh, it's going to be toasty. But at the moment I just can't imagine it, so I need to get it done basically. So tonight I think it's only going to be -2, and then the next night it's going to be -1, and then it's going to be raining and warm. So there's almost no point in doing this, but the insulation's here. I've got a roll outside just sat getting damp, so I want to get it in really, and the breathable membrane came, which is why I stopped doing things, because it wasn't here, but now it is here. So I've done quite a bit without filming anything, but as I say, It just really wasn't my priority. I knew that video was, last week's video was going to be MOT, and I didn't want to confuse it with anything else. Short, sweet, 5-minute MOT video. This one, I'm already waffling for 5 minutes. I hope you like the little montage at the beginning. I just wanted to capture the last bit of snow and frost around here before the rain comes and makes it all muddy. Although it's not that pleasant living in a cold box and, you know, waking up in 5 degrees and having to wear gloves and about 4 coats, and everyone moans about it and everyone's miserable going, oh, it's freezing in it. But oh my god, I would rather this for the rest of the winter than see mud again. I'm not looking forward to it, because our whole garden is at the bottom of a slope, and when it rains, all the rain comes down the drive and then basically fills our garden and turns it into just mush and basically a swamp. It's just squelchy everywhere. So I'm not looking forward to that, but I kind of am looking forward to the slightly more mild weather, seeing as my box is not fully insulated. But I hope to get the ceiling done today and this wall. If I just spin you around, I'm using a gimbal. Very thank you to Mevi, who gave me it earlier this year, or like more sort of mid this year, around about July. So really appreciate it. It's been great for all the B-roll shots, and I'm just learning how to use it a bit more. You can connect it to your camera, which I'm trying to work out how to do, so I can use a record button on it. Anyway, irrelevant. Let's move on. So as you can see here, we got the door. This wall isn't insulated because it's wood, and it's still like warm to the touch, so I'm not too worried about that. This is at the back again, and I'm not too worried about that. I didn't have enough insulation to do it. I've got a bit left there, but my priority is to get the ceiling done because it condensates and it's a bit of a mess. I probably won't get the breathable membrane in though, because that's going to be a big job. Okay, so my camera's about to die, but so this is 50mm insulation. These battens on the walls are 25mm by 50mm, and you can actually buy that, which is this. It's a roofing batten. So a lot of people use the 25 by 38mm for the floor in their van. They put it 25mm down and then Celotex. I bought 25 by 50 because for the floor and stuff like that, actually, that's a lie. It's literally just for the walls above the bed that I'm going to be using this. But also I'm going to cut chunks off, because this is 25mm, and I'm going to glue it onto the battens here to do 25 plus 25, which will then be 50. And then I'm going to staple the breathable membrane to these little blocks on the battens. If you remember from before, it had the cross members as well, as kind of the racking for the removals, and I've removed them. And the idea is to then turn them up, because they're about 18mm. And then they will go upright over the breathable membrane, which will give you a 20mm air gap between the breathable membrane, basically a vapor barrier, and then your wooden wall. So that will just give a bit more insulation, and if any condensation builds up on the breathable membrane, which it shouldn't, it has space to evaporate and not make your wood go mouldy or rotten. Now I was going to use this because it's lovely, 50mm, and put it on the floor, because that would be great. But this works out at about £5.50 a length, and CLS, which is 38mm by 63mm, so a bit bigger, which is what I've used here, is £4.20 a length. So basically I'm going to have 60mm insulation in the floor, 50mm in the ceiling, 50mm in the walls, and then the subfloor. And then in between, on top of the insulation, below the subfloor, there is going to be pipes that will run off the burner, and that will basically, when I go to my eventual -20 temperatures, -30, etc., it will stop the subfloor from freezing. And that includes all things like water tanks and whatever, basically anything under there. It's not going to be warm, it's not going to keep your feet warm or anything, it's just going to stop the subfloor getting sub-zero basically. Probably during the night I'll run the diesel heater, which will also be ducted under there, but during the day the burner will stop the underneath freezing. But I imagine the floor will be quite a bit warmer than most people in vans, because I'll have like this much distance between the actual floor of the van, or the box more like, and then my floor in my van. It's going to be about 35 centimetres, that gap. So the floor should not be very cold, because also the burner is going to be pretty close to the floor when the floor comes up. I treated Rose to some oil after her successful MOT trip. So I've bought a portable oil drain can, which I'll show you. They're awesome. My friend Aidan from the Hippie Bus on Instagram, I'll link them down below. He had one and I was like, I've got to get one of them. They're 21 quid from Euro Car Parts, the 10 litre version, and they're amazing. Just drain your oil and then you can contain it, especially people in vans, and you can drive to a garage and say, here, can you take my waste oil? So yeah, that's the next step. That's the step after for this afternoon, is to change the oil and change the filter in Rose, which should make her run so much smoother. And I just can't wait to do that, because that oil is so thick and so old. It's probably like 6 years old and it's so cold and dirty, so best get it changed. Anyway, in terms of insulating the ceiling, as you can see, I'll put this up here. I was going to drill out all these rivets, well I started to, and take down this inner sheet of fiberglass, because it's not that insulating, that air gap, I found out. Although the fiberglass is glued to the aluminium cross members with some mental strong glue. So what I've been doing is I've got multi-tool, I'm sure you know what multi-tool is, and I'm really rough cutting just squares out of here, and then I'm stuffing the insulation with spray glue, and then I'm going to get battens, 18mm by 44 battens, and they're going to go along the roof that way, and they're going to pin the breathable membrane up, and then that'll again make your 20mm air gap between the breathable membrane and the ceiling. So I'm going to go before the camera shuts off and stops me talking, and I'll see you guys when we're insulating the ceiling. Oh, and the fiberglass is very, well, not good to breathe in, and also very messy.
Consequences. The first time I saw the Descendants, they were the fastest band I'd ever seen. No one we were waiting for the alley cast to play. After a couple months, I heard Company Girl on Monday on the Raw play Sunday night. That was enough for me. I hopped the bus, and bought my all-time favorite record. The next time I went to the whiskey, it was DOA with millions of dead cops. The latter band played faster than I could believe, but the song sounded the same and kind of sucked. Except John Wayne was a Nazi. Joey Shithead was a drunk. Then John Massey beat some hippie to a pulp. Having long hair was a mistake.
So, here she is, running, warming up. She's been warming up the whole time I was doing that, so it's probably been nearly an hour now. She sounds super smooth though. Usually it's really tappety. If you come around here you can hear it a bit. No? Anyway, it was a struggle starting this morning. Not a struggle, but like, I started it, and then once it had started, once the starter motor had kicked out, it started juddering. So then I gave it a rev, and when it dropped back down again, it started juddering again, so yeah. I just had to shoot off for a delivery then, which was at the top of the lane. A big piece of metal, which is my, to trim the back of the box off, because also water gets in there, and that's where I'm getting damp floors from the side. Anyway, oil. This is the 10 litre oil drain pan that was from Euro Car Parts. So you just undo that one to let the oil in, undo that one to let the air out. and you don't have to take that one all the way out really, and then that one can just sit there, something like that. And it's got a big area for it all to sit and drain into. Exciting. So I'm going to get under there. I think it's a 13 or a 10 mil socket or something like that, and then drain the oil, and then I've also got an oil filter. So this is the oil filter. It's a MAN oil filter, and it comes with all the seals and gaskets to replace, and it comes with this little handle to pull it out, because my friend Aidan gave me this from the hippie bus, which I mentioned earlier. If they don't have this, they're a pain to get out. I have a feeling the one that's in here probably won't have this, so I've got to struggle getting that out. Which is why I'm only wearing one glove, because I know this hand's going to get covered in oil. And then lastly, being the old girl she is, this is the oil I'm using. It's triple QX because I want to give her the best stuff I can, especially now. I'm going to change this oil after 5,000 miles just because the engine is probably, you know, it's the oil in there is so dirty that you're not going to get it all out. Or I'm not going to get it all out. I don't want to use an engine cleaner because it can create leaks and stuff because they're so old, and not until I do an engine rebuild one day in the future after like 100,000 miles or something ridiculous. It's 15W40 mineral, so thick old stuff, but she'll like it. She will. Drop the oil into there, and then pull the filter out, which is again 2 10mm nuts, so all you need is a socket set to do the oil on these. There's no big Allen keys or anything like that. Okay, so my battery's dying already, so I'm going to go put it on charge, but that's the oil drain there, which is obviously the sump just there. This is the front of the van, leaf spring. And then if you come around this side, up there is the oil filter, that thing there, and it's got a 10mm nut either side. I'm sure anyone who's got one of these vans knows this anyway, but hey, I think it's 13mm nut actually. That looks like 13, and there's the geese. There it goes, nice warm thin oil. That's why it's important to warm up your engine first. That's why it's been running for ages, because it's -5 today or something. I've just spilt oil all over my face as well. That didn't quite go to plan. As you can see, I kind of spilt it everywhere. But I think they take about 7 or 8 litres, so that's why I've got 10 litres, and this is a 10 litre butt anyway. But as I say, I've already done the oil on these because I did my friend Aidan's. I ain't still going on about Aidan and Biff because they're awesome. Go check them out on Instagram if you haven't already. Especially if you love these old Mercs, they have the exact same engine as mine, like all the same option, power steering, everything's the same on our vans. So, as you can see, I've got the old bolt here, and that's the washer off of it, copper washer. So I'm going to eye that up there, and that's the bigger of the two. There's two copper washers in there, and this one's the bigger one. So I'm going to get that out, and then put that one over the bolt, like so, as you can see, and then put that back in and tighten that up. So this one actually didn't come out too hard. This one actually came out with the, I'll show you the thing that comes out. But yeah, that's it there. Oh, it does actually have a handle, this one. This one's a Marley, however you say that. Yeah, I'm sure it hasn't been changed in ages. Sometimes they have a date in them. Made in Austria. Nope, can't see anything on there. But it's a silly design really from Mercedes, as with a lot of Mercedes. And that is, if you look up there, they put these damn cables just there. So when you're trying to pull this oil filter out, it's quite annoying. If I show you, this thing here has a long bolt thing on it. Well, not bolt, like stem, goes through the middle of the filter. And yeah, you have to pull that out pretty straight, and those cables are in the way. So I had to take off this cable tie that pins it to the step. But there's the big seal around the inside of this, just there, you can see it there, and that's what I'm going to replace now. Okay, so now standard procedure with any oil change, fill it up to the max line or near the max line. That's, I think, about 7 litres for this, so I've put one 5 litre in, and then I put about 1.5 of the next one in, so there's 6.5 litres in there now. And now I'm going to run it for about 1 minute, and let the oil circulate, and then it will drop down. Switch it off, check the oil level, top it back up to max, and we'll be good to go.